And we're back here on the Lolley-Carter Steelers podcast here on PittsburghSports.com. I'm Chris Carter. He's Dale Lolley. Welcome to another weekend of Steelers football. Dale, how you doing this week, my man?
I guess I'm doing better than Steeler fans who are apparently ready to jump off the I don't know, what's the tallest building in Pittsburgh? I don't even know.
The Steel Building, which is now the UPMC building, one of those things.
It'd probably be more dramatic if they jumped off the Cathedral of Learning. That would work.
That would be great. But I mean, it is
There's nothing else around it, so you'd see the bodies coming out. You know?
But the thing is that I guess where we're going with the Steelers podcast. By the way, you can download this podcast anywhere on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are hosted, just like you can download all the PittsburghSports.com podcasts. But Dale, this is the struggle bus, you know, and this is kind of living up to the fears that Steelers fans had, the doom and gloom that was put on this team by, you know, ESPN and a lot of national people like the Mike Tannenbaums and the Mina Kimes of the world. You know, they're not that good. They're not going to compete this year. They have a rough schedule. They're already losing to teams that you didn't even think they'd lose to. But, you know, one thing that's been talked about from TJ Watt to Mike Tomlin to Micah Fitzpatrick, there's no panic button being hit right now. There's no panic mode that they're in. They're trying to stick to what they're doing. And, you know, in my, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, what do you mean? Like, you got to change things up, right? This definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different. But Dale, can you explain to our listeners what they mean by that and why where the logic is in what they're talking about?
Yeah, the Steelers don't make knee-jerk reactions.
Right.
Never have, never will. That's just not the way that they operate. It's not what they believe in. They'll take a very analytical and calculated approach to everything that they do. They just do. They always have. You know, reactions by fans aren't going to, you know, force them to make a move. Unlike some things that you see in other cities. Our Tom Reed wrote a piece on aging quarterbacks and mentioned that, you know, the Giants a couple years ago made the move to pull Eli Manning out of the lineup because that's what the coach wanted to do. And then after fans reacted so harshly to it, the owner went to the coach and said, no, we got to put him back in. The Steelers are never going to do a thing like that. That's why it's ridiculous when fans get on members of the media.
Yeah.
Well, why aren't you calling for this or why aren't you calling for that? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember writing in 19 or maybe early 2000. They started slowly that season, and I wrote maybe it was time that Bill Cowher might need to go. Did they fire Bill Cowher? I don't believe so.
No.
They what I write or what you write or what anybody else says or anything like that, it's not going to matter one iota. The only thing that matters are the people in that building. And so, you know, that's just the way that the Steelers operate. They're not going to react. They're not going to, draft Johnny Manziel as the Browns did one year because some homeless guy told the owner that that's what they needed to do. It's just not going to happen like that.
That's the thing here is that this is also what's made the Steelers. And I understand there's a lot of people that are like, oh, there's time to change. You know, you can't just be the old same Steelers way. But
this isn't the Brady Bunch.
Right.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't. I was just going to let you go.
They had a time to change song on the Brady.
Okay. I was going to say, I've never watched the Brady Bunch. I know what the show was as a family.
Peter was going through, puberty and his voice changed.
Who's Peter? I don't know.
They used that for...
Why are you making old references, man?
I know they go right over your head.
Yeah, because there's certain old stuff you'd be surprised about. You and Prizzuta, you made some movie references, and you'd be like, I'd make one back, and you'd be like, wait, you saw that movie? Like, you guys are surprised that I knew like every line for like Major League once, and I was like, come on, that's an easy one.
Well, Major League's not as old as the Brady Bunch.
No, not nearly as old. But neither is as old as you, Dale. There you go. But back to the Steelers here. The entire idea of this is that the Steelers have won for so long and maintained, their organizational integrity for so long because they've stuck to their guns, because they've had a way of doing things. They're systemic. They don't just go in and, like you said, knee-jerk reactions. Like if something happens, they move heaven and earth to do that, unless there's in their system, there's something that's like, hey, we've prepared for this contingency to happen, like Minka Fitzpatrick becoming available for a reasonable trade, that you can make that move. But if you go and do like the New York Football Giants and benching Eli Manning in the middle of that season, or getting rid of Tom Coughlin, just because he had a couple down years, in a cycle where he would do a couple down years, and then for a couple of years he'd be up there and win you a Super Bowl or two. I think that's a big part of what has made the Steelers over such a long period of time, is that you don't see them make these knee-jerk reactions. Heck, that's what the Browns did for 20 years. That's
why they went through a different coach every couple of years.
Exactly.
It's not a good. It doesn't work in the NFL. You may have a period of success or a year of success, but to have the prolonged success, to consistently be in competition to win, you can't do those kind of things. The Bengals got rid of Marvin Lewis because, he hadn't won a playoff game and and their record since then, it's not good. They just won their second road game when they beat the Steelers 2 weeks ago. That was their second road win in the third year of their new head coach. It just doesn't work. So you have to have a plan. You have to stick with the plan. Sometimes the plan isn't going to go exactly the way that you thought, but that doesn't mean you automatically change the plan. Sometimes things take a little time. 2 years ago, the Steelers started 1-4. Did they blow things up? No. People were saying, the Steelers are going to have a top 5 pick. Why did they trade it for Minka Fitzpatrick? The Dolphins are going to have 2 high draft picks here, two picks in the top 5. Oh my God, they're going to be able to get Tua and somebody else. Well, they got Tua, but they got him picking 5th, and it wasn't with the Steelers pick.
Right.
So they have a plan. They're going to stick with the plan. Things change dramatically and quickly in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks, when the schedule came out earlier this year, everybody looked at that schedule and said, wow, the Steelers got to play the Seahawks. How's that looking now?
Geno Smith.
Yeah, it's going to be Geno Smith. Everybody who was lamenting that game, but the Browns, they get to play the Cardinals. How's that looking now?
Right. That's going to be the Cardinals are the last undefeated team in the NFL. Who had that happen?
Yeah, it's the NFL. Things change quickly. Things change. There are 3 to 4 shifts every year over the course of a season. Rookies start to get it. Things come together. You get guys back from injuries. You lose guys to injuries. It's why Bill Cowher used to say, look, it's a marathon, not a race, not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It was an old Marty Schottenheimer saying, you have to be, slow and steady wins the race. You see lots of teams start quickly. The Raiders start quickly every single year. They were I believe 6-2 last year and finished with, I think, 7 or 8 wins. So things change quickly in the NFL. You can't panic. You can't lose your mind because of a slow start, just like you can't lose your mind, when they were 11-0 last year.
Right.
It's all the same.
That's where I'm at too, is that people, just like how you warn people about being, too knee-jerk reaction to, win streaks last year. It's the same thing about losing streaks this year. You gotta be kind of prepared. And this is what the Steelers have done for so long. When they've played, they've kind of, when you're winning a lot, you stick to the kind of the guns, regardless of, what's gotten you the wins, or say you have a formula that you win. Now there'll be play calls and like things that, on the field that obviously change, and, those things will stay the same. But when you're talking about organizational integrity, when you're talking about how you sign players, what players you sign, the players that you keep, that doesn't go away. That doesn't disappear. And to me, those are some of the biggest building blocks to why the Steelers have been the Steelers for so long. And again, why I don't have them, I don't necessarily count them out already to say, you know what, they're just not going to be in it for the rest of the year, because
I most certainly am not counting them out right now. If you look at their schedule over the next month and a half, they leave the state of Pennsylvania once, and that's for a trip to Cleveland. 4 of their next 5 games are at home, and they also have a bye week in there. 3 of those, they're playing the Bears and Lions in 2 of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Win this game on Sunday against the Broncos. Win next week against Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. You're at 3-3.
Yep, and you get a bye.
And then you get a bye, and then you have to play the Browns. Okay, well, Baker Mayfield's dealing with a labrum tear, and it's in his left shoulder, but he still has a labrum tear. That still hurts every time that somebody hits him on it. He's not played well. So anything's possible. You can get your act together. Things can happen. I'll harken back to something. I as you know, Chris, coached baseball, and I think there were a couple of years, 2 or 3 of the years that I coached baseball. In the first half of the season, my team started out slowly because I was building the foundation of what we were going to be. Right. I didn't care about wins and losses. First of all, everybody made the playoffs. Secondly, I'm trying to build that foundation. One year we were 2-7. We're in last place, playing the first place team in the league. They were 7-2. And those guys were out there while we were warming up, and they're yucking it up, and they're laughing at my guys. Oh, this team's too easy. We got this game. This is going to be an easy game. And so I pulled my team, and I said, guess what, guys? Here's what we're going to do. I said, you heard them laughing over there while we were doing warm-ups. Here's what we're going to do. I bunted the first 7 guys who came up, and they didn't get a single out on any of them. Next thing you know, it was 6-0 after the first inning. We 10-run them. We didn't lose another game the rest of the year. We went from being 2-7 to winning 12 straight games and winning the championship. Little things like that. Just, you get the ball rolling a little bit in the right direction. Things are going badly for the Steelers right now. Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that happens here, one bounce of the ball, win a game. And that's been the message. That's the message that Cam Hayward had. That's the message that TJ Watt had. That's the message that Minkah Fitzpatrick had. Win a game, and things start to change.
That it often does. I mean, and how many times, Dale, have you seen it just with the Steelers over the years, where you struggle, you win a game, and all of a sudden you catch fire? I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Again, they were 1-4 with Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges at quarterback 2 years ago, and then won 7 of their next 8 games. 7 of 8 with Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
And listen, I am one of the loudest people about things that Ben Roethlisberger needs to fix, and when he makes mistakes and being honest about it. But even I'm like, listen, it's not that hard to see him turning this around.
These are fixable things. He's right.
Very fixable things. Like you look at the things, it's like, man, if he just looks over here, if he sees this, or if he just adjusts to this, or if he just puts a little more air on this ball here and there.
Trust the line a little bit more.
Trust the line a little.
That's the impetus for all of this, Chris, is his lack of trust in the line. So he's feeling like, okay, I got to get rid of the football in 2 seconds. So I'm making my pre-snap read, and then that's where I'm going with the football. I'm not going to sit here in the pocket and hold the football because these guys aren't going to block for me. And it's not just one guy that he feels is going to break down. It's not okay. If it was just one guy, you could swing protection, to that side to help that guy, or you'd replace him.
Right.
But it's not one guy. It's been a breakdown here or a breakdown there. They've all been, culpable at one point or another. So he's getting rid of the football quickly based on what he sees on his pre-snap reads. If they can convince him, hey, Ben, we need you to hold it, stay, hang in there just a little bit longer, go through your progressions. We know you can do this. This will work. And if they can do that, this could be a pretty good football team. Again, the offense right now isn't doing the defense any favors. With so many 3 and outs, losing the field position battle, things of that nature. So it all plays off of each other.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that. And Mike Tomlin talks about this so much. It's about complementary football.
Yep.
Is just the timing of it, of the offense, scoring right after the defense gets a stop, or the defense getting a stop to get the ball to the offense right after they get back. Yeah, I actually thought, and this is, I think, with all the problems the Steelers have had, with the offense and with everything else. One of the biggest points I thought of the season was when they had that really good drive in the second quarter against the Bengals, and they moved the ball down the field. They finished. I think it was a shovel pass to Juju, and he gets in the end zone. And then the Bengals had an 8-minute drive. And they only got a field goal out of it, but it sucked away all of the rest of the time in the first half. And that offense didn't. And then they got the ball back at the start of the second half. The offense wasn't on the field for over an hour of actual time.
And the same thing happened against the Packers last week.
Right.
They went about an hour of actual time without having the football.
Yeah.
You're going to get a little stale when that happens.
Right. And this offense needs to find rhythm. That's not just something, that's not hyperbole. That's not coach speak. That's reality. When you're an offense that's not been good, when you've been bad and you're trying to put things together, again, they've got talent. There's no one denies that, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Pat Fryman, all these guys, they've got the talent to succeed, but it's about coordination. It's about everyone being on the same page at the same time. And it's so hard to do that, which is why it's so hard to be in the NFL, even when you are a supreme athlete. But that's what we're talking about when we're talking about coming together. That's why we think it takes time to do that. But yeah, so that's the whole point here, is that organizational integrity is so important, and why the Steelers aren't just flipping the switch, having knee-jerk reactions, even when they're 1-3 and everyone's saying doom and gloom. What's up?
Why don't we take a break so I can beat you again in picks?
First of all, you ain't beating me again in picks. I was getting to the break, my man. We were just having a really good conversation there. Anyways, who lost in fantasy by this week? Huh? You did? You did? Not me?
I'm 3-1, pal.
That's funny. I told you I'm walking you down just like I did last year.
Good luck with that.
You were talking
good
about
luck with that.
With my
I'll be 4-1 after this week.
Team,
with thanks to my big
Little League baseball team. I told my guys to butt 7 times. Yeah, I told you last year. And anyone that listens to this podcast, I was 0-4. My entire team was hurt. I said, Dad,
you were 0-4 because you don't know how to draft.
And guess
because you're a terrible drafter.
No, my whole team was hurt last year.
So you get the first waiver pick every week.
And but
again, the season is
who ended up with a better record last year, Dale?
My team got injured in the second half.
Oh, your team got injured.
Apart.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, my team. Yeah, get out of here.
My team was hot to get out of because I drafted well and you didn't.
Yeah, my team got hurt. That's fine. We're not done. We'll be back in a minute right here on Lolley.
Your time's coming, Carter. Your time's coming.
Back here on the Lolley-Carter Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Dale Lolley, my friend and co-host. We're still jabbing at each other over picks and or fantasy football. It's just everything, really. Last week, Dale, what were our splits? You need to do something. I record this show. I edit this show. I publish this show. I just need you to keep track of the picks. Just keep down.
I did. I won and you lost.
No, you don't know, because what games did we win and lose? You don't know. You just say that.
I won and you lost. It's pretty simple.
You're silly. You are silly. But I'm trying to look over these games. Now, I remember, if I remember correctly, you picked the Texans. I picked the Bills.
No, I do not believe so. I believe that was the other way around.
You did pick the Vikings. You thought the Vikings would take the Browns. I remember that much, because you thought they were.
I had the Vikings,
and they were close. They were close, because I was watching that game. I was like, ooh, that was a close.
It was a winnable game.
It was a winnable game. But when looking at those, listen, I again, just write it down. You're an older guy. You got pen and paper lying around somewhere. Write it down for me, man. Like, help me out here. I'm trying to produce shows while I'm recording shows.
I don't need to write it down because I know I won. So
the only game that we know we split was Vikings Browns. I picked the Browns. You picked the Vikings. You lost last week. I won. Moving forward.
You had some other ones. You had like Miami winning.
Wait, who did they even play?
They played the Colts.
I did not have Miami winning.
You had Miami.
No, wait. I did have Miami winning because Quentin Nelson went out. Never mind. I did switch. I take that back. All right, so we're 1-1 there. We're 1. But you had Miami winning too, because you saw that they were hurt up too. Get out of here with that. Anyway, someone who pays attention to our podcast, please let us know who won.
Yes, Dale, please let Chris know exactly how wrong he is.
Oh, whatever.
I'm tired of doing it.
Anyways, Jets at Falcons, 1-3 at 1-3. Who cares? Game in London, 9:30. No one needs to watch this game, but I want to go with the Falcons, but I'm going with the Jets. I don't know why. I just feel like something weird's going to happen in this game. Zach Wilson's going to build off of stuff. They had a win last week. The Falcons are missing Calvin Ridley, I believe. Both teams are really bad. This is going to come down to some stuff that no one can predict. I'm just going to pick the Jets on a coin flip.
Jets, Jets. They're hot. They're on fire. Both those teams stink.
With one win.
Calvin Ridley's, if they just played a team that didn't have their top 2 wide receivers, and they won, and they, despite Derrick Henry going for 150, they won that game. Jeez. So
that was a bizarre game, by the way. Eagles 1-3, Panthers 3-1. I'm going with the Panthers. The Fighting Matt Rules are going to rain fire upon Philly.
I'm going with Sex Panther by Odeon.
That you just got weird. Why'd you do that?
You don't know what that means.
No, I don't. You're making these old references.
That's not old. That's Anchorman. Come on.
Oh, okay. It's been a while since Anchorman. My bad.
Okay.
You are right. It took me. I lost that one. Okay. All right. You made that. I just assumed this is just an old rock band joke from the 1960s that Dale's listening
50% of the time, it works every time.
3-1 Packers and 3-1 Bengals. An interesting matchup here, 2 teams. But one thing, Dale, that you always say, if a team has a record that doesn't match up with what they're actually made up of, usually that comes back to bite them. I think that's what happened to the Bengals here. Packers are going to win this one on the road, and they'll advance to 4-1. What say you?
I'm going with the home team. I'm going to go Bengals. Jair Alexander in that game. The Bengals have all 3 of their pass catchers back. It should be an interesting game. That's a toss-up, but I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, there's our first split.
They might be the best team in the AFC North.
That's a crazy thing to say. If you had said it before the season started, everyone would say, you're drunk. 1-3 Patriots at 1-3 Texans. I'm going with the Patriots. I know half their offensive line is missing, but come on, Davis Mills. I mean, he's just bad.
Davis Mills is bad. This is what I'm talking about when people say Ben Roethlisberger is the worst quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, okay.
Have you seen Davis Mills? Have you Zach Wilson? I could run down the list here, guys, that he's better than.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. There's no question the Patriots win that one. Titans, Jaguars. Listen, if the Titans lose to the Jets and the Jaguars in back-to-back weeks, Mike Vrabel is just going to die of a heart attack. Like it's going to be the most embarrassing thing in the history of man. But I'm going with the Titans because they just can't lose this game.
Titans defense stinks.
It does.
It's awful, which is surprising with Mike Vrabel there. They get AJ Brown back this week. I think they'll be better. But this is going to be closer than I think people think. I'm going to go with the Titans against somebody has to win the AFC South.
Somebody
has to. Even if the Titans lose this game to fall to 2-3, they'll still be leading the AFC South.
That's crazy. The AFC South is the NFC East of this year.
The winner might have 6 wins this year.
That's insane. And it's a 17-game season.
It's a 17-game schedule. They all stink.
But Titans are definitely beating the Jaguars. I don't care what anyone says. Moving along, another sad game here. 0-4 Lions at 1-3 Vikings. I'm going with the Vikings. I don't believe in either team, but the Vikings have been really close and had some sad losses. I think that Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook, even if he doesn't play, Alex Madison, whoever, they're finding a way to put the blinds out of their misery.
I think the Vikings have lost their 3 games by a combined 13 points. I'm going with the Vikings in this game.
Battle of South Florida, Miami Dolphins at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going with the Buccaneers. No way. I'm going to pick the Dolphins.
Dolphins will move the football in that game because Tampa Bay, like Ross Cockrell is starting for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Everybody talked about and trumpeted, well, they got all 22 of their starters back this year. Well, right now they're down about 6 of those guys, and they're all defensive players. But I'm going to go with the Buccaneers at home.
Yeah. I was going to say
they're going to blitz. They're going to blitz Jacoby Brissett getting off the bus.
It's going to be ridiculous. They're not going to be able to protect him. Good luck having Austin Jackson,
by the way, is the worst offensive line in the league.
Yeah, people think that's bad. Also, by the way, they've had like 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders on that line for all the. You have to draft the offensive line first, guys. Also, if you people who are still against the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, they traded to the pick that they got for Minkah Fitzpatrick was Austin Jackson. He's been a joke at the offensive tackle position. This is an interesting game because these are 2 teams that are tough to figure out for the direction they're going. 2-2 Saints at 2-2 Washington. I'm going with Washington because I like the way that Taylor Heineke's playing compared to Jameis Winston. And I think both have talented defenses. I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback and the talented defense.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go Washington as well. They're at home. Two good defenses. I don't know what the Saints are.
See, exactly. I don't know who these teams are. They're just like, okay.
They could come out there and beat Washington 32-0, or they could lose 32-0. Yep. I have no idea.
And then the next week, we're still not going to know. That's how crazy it is. All right. Now, here's an interesting game that I'm sure a lot of Steelers fans will be watching at the 4:00 hour. 3-1 Browns at 3-1 Chargers. I'm going with the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's got something for him. The Browns, I mean, as bad as Baker Mayfield looked last week, I like you've said before, that team is a bunch of front runners. They need to have a lead. I don't think Justin Herbert gives them the chance to have that lead. I think he dices up their defense a lot better than Kirk Cousins could, and that puts Baker Mayfield in a position where he's got to throw the ball, or whoever they have it back in their quarterback in this game, and it's not going to be good whether it's Case Keenum or him going with Los Angeles.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield will be wearing Joey Bosa.
Yeah, basically.
That entire game. So I'm going with the Chargers as well. Yeah, I'll take Dallas. They're playing well.
Now, this is a potential game of the week here. 3-1 Bills at 2-2 Chiefs. I'm going with the Bills. I like the way their defense has played. I like the way they've been getting after it. I think this is going to end up being a shootout, but I think this is the one where the Bills, they get one up on the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Bills were my pick to win the AFC this year. I'm sticking with that. I think their pass rush will give Kansas City some problems, and their defense is better. But be careful here. No Matt Milano in this game for Buffalo. That could change some things here, but I'm going to go with Buffalo. They've been a red hot team. 2 shutouts they pitched already this year.
Yes, they have. They've been playing very well. We'll see that play Sunday night. Monday Night Football, Colts at Ravens. I mean, listen, I know the Colts won last week, but they can't win this week, right? I'm going Ravens.
Nah, I'll take the Ravens.
All right, now the big game. Of course, everyone wants to talk about 3-1 at the Broncos at 1-3 Steelers. Dale, I'm going with the Steelers on this one. I've picked against the Steelers a couple times this year, but I'm going with them this time. I think that even if Teddy Bridgewater plays, this is a game where the defense can get after them, can create some problems. I know Teddy Bridgewater has been protecting the football, but this is a game where I think there's something in the Steelers offense that wakes up enough to give them a lead, and the defense is able to create some turnovers and turn this season around. What say you?
There's an old theory in gambling that you always bet against a concussed quarterback. Right, quarterback coming back off of a concussion.
That's an old theory in gambling.
Oh, yes, because they just don't process things as well, as quickly as they should. That first game back. So I think Teddy Bridgewater may throw 1 or 2 to the other team this week. I'm taking the Steelers to win 23-16.
That's pretty simple there. Pretty simple math there. I agree. I agree with you there. Wow, Dale, we had some splits there. Please write them down because we need to remember what our picks are. But Dale, thanks so much for doing this as always on the Lolley-Carter Steelers podcast. And Chris Carter, you can find this podcast anywhere, but especially on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are hosted. Check us out with all the other DKPittsburghSports.com podcasts. Be back in the ears next weekend, checking you out and getting you ready for the next Pittsburgh Steelers football game.